Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for joining us on your lunch hour here today. I have Kirk here joining us to give us this wonderful presentation. Hi, Melinda. Thanks for putting that in the chat. Um, we'll get started here in just a second. I just have a couple housekeeping things before we get started. We do ask that you keep your camera and microphone off because we are recording this so we can get it posted for you to review on your own time later as well. But with that being said, you're still welcome to send us a chat or utilize the Q&A feature. It's up here in your slides, so hopefully you can see. If you have any questions for Kirk as we're going through here today, feel free to put them in the chat. You're welcome to ask them to everyone. There's an option, as you can see on your slide, to send it privately to one of us if you want it to be an anonymous question. Same thing with the Q&A feature. You're welcome to put a question there. You can also make it anonymous there as well. We do have some time set aside at the end of Kirk's presentation to answer all of your questions, so feel free to put them in at the end, or as we're kind of going through the content, if you have any questions, get them in there. We will send out an email of the recording as well as any questions that maybe got missed. So again, put those questions in your Q&A or in the chat. But otherwise, we're excited to have Kirk here with us today. He's another health educator in our office. And Kirk, I'm going to let you take it away.
Sounds good. Well, hello everyone. My name is Kirk, a health educator. I've done a lot of exercise type of classes, education in the past with youth and older adults. So I've just kind of been all over the place, inpatient, outpatient, and I've done a lot of coaching in the past. So I have a lot of different experience that I can hopefully bring you some new tips or things you may not have known in the past. So today we'll be talking about boosting your summer activity. So things that you can add to your summer routine or things that you can begin with your summer routine. Of course, we did another presentation about winter wellness in the past. It's kind of similar, but this is more geared towards summer. Both seasons are different. They kind of give their different challenges. So we'll be talking about some of those as well. There'll be time at the end as well, just to talk about questions or comments, anything you want to add to this presentation as well. So feel free to go for that as well. Outline for today, we'll just be talking about why exercise is important, to give you some statistics and facts, and then we'll talk about goals and exercise routines, how that relates to motivation. That's really important as we get into summer. Our summer activities and our routines get a lot busier in the summer. So even though the weather's nice, we find ourselves filling up our schedule day to day. So having those exercise and goal routines established is important. We'll talk about some summer activities, things you can definitely do in the summertime. This would be a good time for you to add in stuff that maybe you do that I didn't say. So talk more about that as well. And then, of course, some considerations, precautions, things to know when exercising in the warm season. So we'll talk about all that stuff too. Okay. All right. Moving into it. Why exercise is important. So exercise is kind of like the natural medication for our bodies. Our bodies require it because we're meant to move. So as we find ourselves in more of a sedentary society, we are having a lot less exercise in our day-to-day routines, and that has repercussions. So again, there's homeostasis in your body. It's helping organ bodily function. Exercise really helps with that. So it kind of broad spectrum of all health adverse effects in your body. Exercise kind of targets those issues. Things like diabetes, cancer, chronic diseases such as like hypertension, bone loss, obesity, heart disease. Exercise kind of decreases the risk for all of those just because it really helps aid in that homeostasis. So it just kind of directly targets those. So with diabetes, it's looking at glucose regulation, cancer, chronic disease, bone loss. Doing strength training helps prevent osteoporosis or some of those bone degradation type diseases. Obesity, especially. Obesity is one of those things that is growing more and more prevalent today, and With obesity, there was a study that so years of life lost due to obesity. This is like a meta-analysis study done by JAMA. So they found that adults, mostly male, over 45 BMI, uh, saw a 22% drop in their life expectancy. So a little bit less on the women's side, just because women can have a lot higher allotment for fat content in their body. But it just kind of shows that obesity can definitely have a toll on your functional age. So there's kind of chronological age and functional age. So someone who's 50 exercises every day for their whole life, rather than someone who's 50 never exercise, eats a lot, their functional age is going to be different there. So good to know going forward. Having that exercise routine established is really important moving forward with your aging. According to the CDC, roughly 110,000 deaths can be prevented every year for ages over 40. This is related to premature death. So having that moderate to vigorous activity and through your weekly routine, really important for that. Again, that's relating to that functional and chronological age. Okay. Heart disease, definitely. I'm a huge advocate for exercise with heart disease. I've worked in a cardiac clinic, helping patients exercise and kind of revitalize their cardiac health. So that's a really important factor. It really drops coronary artery disease, peripheral artery disease. It's really just trying to make your heart healthy. That's what exercise is doing. So a lot on that as well. Mental health, exercise definitely improves mental health. And having social interactions, grouping, it gives you an excuse to get out and do stuff. Um, it kind of forces you to do that. If you have those routine and goals established, always hear of runner's high. That's that dopamine and endorphin response that you get from exercise. So it's really tough to get in and get going on some sort of exercise routine. But you find that when you're actually exercising or you're done with exercise, you feel a lot better. So it's just trying to get your foot in the door to begin that routine. That's the hardest part. Okay. With exercise, it's becoming more and more prevalent today, a trend that doctors are prescribing exercise, especially in like cardiac health clinics. I see a lot of cardiologists doing that now, which is awesome. Exercise should be seen as medication. It's a tough medication for sure, but you should treat it like medication. So it's like you have a medication already, maybe you are taking some, you find that you're taking it every day, morning and night, something like that. Well, that's the same thing should be for exercise. You should be doing it daily, or keep it on a regimen, to where you're doing it consistently. Okay. And then moving into exercise goals and routine. So this is probably the big hunk of this presentation, just trying to establish some sort of goal or routine. The issue with staying motivated is not having a routine and not having goals established. So some roadblocks to staying motivated are holidays, stress, transportation, lack of facilities, injuries, health complications, especially like cardiac and pulmonary health complications. Injuries could be, you have like a stress injury, overuse injury, that you're just using a bunch. And, you have like strains and, twisted ankles, that sort of thing. So there's a bunch of excuses to not do exercise, and they're viable for sure. But having those goals and routines kind of helps you kind of to navigate around those obstacles so that you still can get something in. So we'll start off with those exercise goals. So whenever we're making goals, we always use SMART goals. SMART is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. So it's one thing to say, you have a very generic goal. You say, I want to start exercising. Okay, well, great. What does that entail? What does that mean? Why do you want to start exercising? So having those established in your head gives you a little bit more motivation to get it done. So be more specific. So with specificity, uh, what are you doing exactly? So I will walk 30 minutes per day, 5 days per week. So it's the walking. Okay, you want to exercise more? You're going to start walking. It's measurable. This usually involves a number. So you're going to, over the next month, we'll walk 30 minutes, 5 days per week. And then attainable, is this something that's realistic for you? Realism is tough with the goals. You dream big and shoot for the stars, but sometimes this is a classic New Year's resolution. You find you want to get more fit, which is great. You should want to get more fit and healthy, but you may just your goals might be just a little bit far shot. So it's definitely attainable, but just it's really far in the future. It could be like a long-term goal. So the short-term goals that you really need to think about as well. So say I don't know, I want to lose 50 pounds. Okay, well, it's good to know that that's going to take a little while. So it's persistence and determination in these goals that will allow you to get to that 50-pound loss. It's not going to happen over a week. It's not going to happen overnight. So it's important to just kind of know that. So, okay, I'm going to make some short-term goals. That way it'll get to my long-term goal. So make sure it's realistic, relevant. Again, this is something that's makes sense for you. If you are working, 40 hours a week, maybe more, and you're on your feet all day, a really labor-intensive job, you really need to find some ways to make sure you can get some exercise outside of that. And it could be more geared towards the weekends that you get the exercise. Maybe you're super tired during the week and you just can't quite find the time to get it in. So that's something like that. And then time bound. So in this example, over the next month that you want to get this done. Time bound aspect of the goals is good for keeping things short term and long term. So, like I said, if you're trying to lose 50 pounds, long term goal was I'm trying to lose 50 pounds in this year. Okay, that's good. Okay, what about week to week? What are you trying to do? Week to week, if it could be, I'm trying to lose a pound or two every week or every 2 weeks. Okay, that's a better short-term goal to kind of gear you towards that long term. Okay. So having those motivation, those establishing those good goals will help with the motivation. And everyone does need their motivation from something. So it's probably not just these goals that's going to motivate you. It's going to be something else. Sometimes it's internal motivation, sometimes it's external motivation. So some examples of this would be your family, friends. Maybe they're exercising and you're not. You want to kind of hop on the train, see if you can join them. Maybe it's the other way around. Maybe you're exercising a lot and they aren't. It's just getting them together and getting you and keeping each other accountable. It's your loved ones, kids, friends. They'll definitely keep you accountable if you ask them to, and vice versa. You could do like personal trainers in your exercise classes. Having like a exercise class or group also helps keep you accountable because they're all set dates and times, so they expect to see you at that date and time. It's not like you're on your own, you choose when to go. So it kind of falls through the cracks there. But with those exercise groups or like personal trainers, it's a little bit pricier, of course, but the whole idea is to get into a group, keeping each other accountable. And that can be a great motivational factor. Okay. I'm going into routines. So that's kind of the goal aspect with the routines. Before establishing any routine, it's just good to know what we're shooting for your routine, what your routine's trying to accomplish in your week to week. So per week, you want to try to get 150 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic activity or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity. If you're someone who doesn't exercise much at all, definitely start with moderate intensity. We want to start slow for sure. We definitely don't want to pull the trigger and go hard for vigorous, just because it's hard on the body, can cause injury, and we're just trying to stay safe. We're exercising in a safe way. So that could be more for if you have very little health issues, injuries, you've been exercising for a long, long time, you know your body very well, then you can start moving towards that vigorous intensity. If you are someone who is not sure, how hard is too much, chat with your doctor and see if they have like because there's some heart rates that you can get to that you can shoot for. Heart rate's a great way to gauge how hard you're working. So they can kind of help you decide that as well. When I'm talking about moderate and vigorous, we use the talk test um, to know how hard you're working. So for moderate intensity, you can talk but not sing. For vigorous intensity, you can say a few words before needing to take a breath. So those are the ways you kind of gauge it. Okay. And then lastly, the strength training. At least 2 days per week for strength-related training. I'm such a huge advocate for strength training just because I don't see it enough in people's workout routines, and it's so, so important. Your muscle capacity is dropping consistently as you get older. So the amount of muscle you can actually have in your body is dropping. So we need to actually offset that by working on our muscles. Your leg muscles are so important for longevity. If you fall, can you get back up? That's muscle related. We need to have the muscle strength to, if you fall, get back up. It can save yourself from an injury happening. Your muscles can support your joints from something happening. If you're twist your ankle or are about to fall, having those muscles there can help prevent that. So it's so important. Having that 2 days per week, you're not going to get also, I always hear this a lot too from patients and even friends and family. They're like, I'm worried I'm going to look too big. I'm like, trust me, you'll never get there. It's really difficult to do that. It takes years and years and years to do something like that. So uh, muscle is great for like calorie expenditure as well. I say when I'm doing like in bodies with people, which is like a electrical impedance test. It's kind of like a BMI, but a lot more accurate. It's looking. I always say muscles are like engines. The more muscles you have, the more powerful the engine, and that burns more calories. That's the fuel to your muscles is calories. So the more muscle you have, the more likely you're going to burn a lot more calories through the day, which helps a lot with weight maintaining, losing weight, and maintaining weight. Okay. So we'll talk about each about cardio, and strength here with the routines. Um, so everyone's routine will look different, and it should look different. Everyone's different. Doesn't matter who you are, you're going to have a different way of doing things than the person next to you. You could be someone who has a very solid, stern routine that they like to stick to every single day. It's like I'm going to the gym at 6 o'clock every single day. I'm doing the same exercises that I need to do. Nothing's changing. I'm doing all that stuff. That works. If that's your thing, go for it. You're just trying to get that 150 minutes per week or more. And so that's totally fine. So I have on the right side here the gym versus dance studio, push-ups versus more of a pushing motion like a sled push, or treadmill versus going out and hiking, squats versus swimming in a pool, swimming in a lake. So they're variations of each other, but they all do the same stuff. They're all trying to make you work and work those muscle groups. So those are all totally fine the way you want to do it. Again, so long as you get that minutes in for the week. Okay, so I'm more of a gym person. I have a pretty strict routine, but I see no problem at all for you going to go swimming. You can do the summer activities, which we're going to talk about in a little bit too. And so yeah, it's important to be flexible too if you have any injuries that come, because then you can quickly change your routine and still maintain that 150 minutes per week and just do it in a little bit different way. So whenever you're establishing a routine, you want to start slow and small. get a couple. If you're starting rock bottom or you've never exercised at all, that is fine. Just start small, start slow. So I say 150 minutes, but get 20 minutes in a week and kind of build from there. Like I was saying with the goals, you want to make it realistic. So you don't want to jump right into it. Creating a habit and establishing routines is the hardest part. So you want to make it realistic for yourself and say, okay, I'm just going to ease my way into this. Of course, you don't want to make excuses for yourself and really push it out on your progression. But you want to give yourself a little bit of slack. But something is better than nothing. So doing 10 to 20 minutes a week, that's fine to start. And just to break it down, 150 minutes per week is, 5 days of 30 minutes of those 5 days. So uh, throughout the week, 5 days, 30 minutes of that day. So that's pretty attainable, I'd say. Finding some time in there. You don't need to do a whole 30-minute block of exercise. You can split it up. If you're really busy, you can find time to split it up, doing little increments here and there. For strength training, whatever exercise routine you're going for strength, or like resistance training, body weight training, doing three by 10. So what that means is it's 3 sets of 10 repetitions. That's a very good outline for yourself just to get going and get started on things. So a set is a amount of an exercise. So 1 set of 10 repetitions. So of whatever exercise you're doing. So you say you're doing squats. So you're squatting for 1 set. That's 1 round of 10 repetitions. And then you're taking around a 30-second to minute break and then doing it again. Okay. For 3 sets. And then you can move on to the next exercise. That's a really good general way of doing things. You can have a whole bunch of exercises that you can do that 3 by 10 with. I'll leave that to you. We talk a little bit more about exercise in some of our other classes. We gave you better ideas of what exercises to do. But yeah, that's a generic good outline for yourself to do. For cardio, it's a little bit different. You want to have more of a continuous exercise in whatever you're doing. So it's swimming, running, biking, jogging, walking quickly. You're having that continuous exercise to the point where you're kind of building up a sweat and getting your heart rate up. So you can split that cardio. That's just fine. You can do that 30-minute daily to 2 to 15-minute sessions. That is totally fine. Like I was saying with the flexibility for routines, if you have injuries, you can definitely find a way around it. There are plenty of exercises you can do. Just to kind of give you an example, you have to have a little bit of imagination with some of this stuff. So if you say you have a lot of sciatica issues or back issues, well, you might want to find yourself doing low impact body weight exercises just to kind of help prevent that. Doing more static stuff that's not as tough on the joints. So like a wall plank, where you're kind of leaning against the wall and working on your core strength. That's a good example of one. Swimming is really low impact on the body. That might help with if you have that sciatica nerve pain, back pain issues. But if you have like a foot injury, then you probably want to be doing a lot of seated exercises. If you look online, you'll find a whole bunch of seated exercises that you can get done. And even, of course, both of those would require a lot of good flexibility and warm up, which we'll talk about in our precautions. But yeah, there's always a way around whatever injury or issue that you're having. That's just staying motivated so that you can get it done. You can find it, I guarantee it. So you have a little imagination. Okay. Moving on from the routine, summertime activities. So, kind of this would be a good point to drop it in the chat as well. About what things you do in the summertime. I was kind of thinking of some stuff, just some basic ideas would be tennis, park walks, hiking, swimming, golf. Bloomsday's coming up, running, biking. With the group classes, I just did kind of a quick search and look through Facebook. And I found quite a bit of groups. There's like a jazzercise group that you can find for Spokane, a little bit low intensive, and actually it can get pretty intensive. But you can find age groups that are more like kind of a younger adult group for exercise, and an older adult group for exercise. There's a whole bunch of them there. That's just through Facebook. I mean, I'm sure there's like kind of newsletters through the city itself that they kind of put that stuff out there. So any other ideas that maybe you do in the summertime that get you exercising? Kayaking, pickleball. I love it. Yep, those are great. Kayaking is real tough on that core and upper body. So that's really good exercise. Okay, I'd say that's more like strength training. That's awesome. Anyone else? Nothing. Okay. All right. But yeah, so just look around. Spokane is really outdoorsy. And they've always got a lot of options that you can do compared to some other cities. We are a lot of forest around here, so hiking is big. So hiking's great. Anything to work on your balance and mobility is awesome. So hiking fits the mark. Okay, moving on. Special precautions considerations. So um, with this, whenever you're doing some sort of routine or exercise, it's recommended to do some sort of flexibility stretching as in a warm up with a cool down. So flexibility is super important for injury prevention. You want to make sure your joints and ligaments are prepared to take on any exercise you do. If you're running, hiking, lifting, you want to do flexibility and stretching that is geared towards those exercises. So, say I'm doing an upper body workout. Of course, I want to be doing upper body stretches to prepare for it. So your shoulders, your back, doing those exercises that will help with that. Always look, there's so many exercises and flexibility stretches that you can find online. Just look them up. You can play with them, see if it's feasible for you. It's like, oh, okay, if I'm already looking at that, then there's no way I can do that. That's fine. Just make a list for yourself of exercises that you like. You're shopping for exercises and stretches essentially. So look for those stretches that look good to you, that you can definitely manage, and feel a good stretch. You should feel we say when you're stretching, you should feel some sort of discomfort, but no pain at all. Whenever you're doing stretching, every stretch that you do, you want to do it up to 30 seconds. You can do a couple sets of it and then move on to the next stretch. So that's totally fine. The idea of a warm up and cool down. So, say you're going to go for a run. You need to warm up for sure when you're doing a run. So, besides the stretching, you should be doing some sort of warm up run. So, it could be a brisk walk, just to kind of get your heart elevated. So, when I'm doing exercise, I want my heart to go kind of slowly increase and hit a climax and then kind of slowly decrease. So I don't want like spike and straight back down. It's not really great for the heart. It puts a big toll on it and a lot of stress. So again, we're trying to safely exercise. So you're building up that heart rate. Then you're getting into your main workout and exercise routine, and then you're slowly back off of it. So again, if you're running, you're building up into the run. And once you're actually done with your run, then you go back to a brisk walk again. So it's the same thing for exercises as well. If you're doing strength training, you start at a very lightweight and then kind of increase a little bit more to get to your main exercise. Okay. Hydration, really important. So for men and women, their hydration is a little bit different. For men, you should be getting about 16 cups of water per day. Women's around 12. Could increase a little bit more just based off of what you're doing that day. So obviously, if you're exercising a bunch out in the sun and you're sweating a bunch, then yes, you want to be getting a lot more fluids in as well as electrolytes. Um, the time of day that you exercise is important. So, of course, in winter, you want to do the warmest part of the day, the warmest. So that's kind of like the mid-afternoon. Whereas in summertime, you're shooting for mornings and evenings. Sun's starting to rise and starting to set. It's a little bit cooler for you. Um, this can relate to another problem. So you don't want like heat exhaustion, dehydration happening, your medications as well. So some medications are heat sensitive. So if you're taking a pretty big regimen of medications and you're not quite sure, always chat with your healthcare team on whether you should or shouldn't be exercising in the heat, or if you can. So just check with them. If you have fluid restrictions as well, that can be even bigger problem. It's even more important to either find a cool time in the day to do it, or just do your exercise indoors. So that's fine too. Okay. So just be mindful of your exercises that you're doing. Um, if you have any issue, if your gut's telling you don't do it, don't do it. Stay on the safe side of things. If you're starting something new and you're wondering how much you should do, always start the smallest you can just to kind of get a feel for it and then move up from there. Okay, so it's incremental changes that we want to make making. All right. That is the big stuff about exercise and the routines. Um, if Going more into like precautions, if you are having any chest pain, discomfort, sit, lie down, relax. If you're finding that it's uncontrolled or unstable, or it's not going away, that chest pain or discomfort, go to the ER. If For women, chest pain or heart-related issues, you find it more to be in the gut rather than that classic arm pain and chest pain. So if you're finding that you're getting nausea or stomach pain, like right after your exercise, and then it goes down, if it's really linked to your exercise or anything that elevates the heart rate, that might be a indication. And that's different from like a cramp, like you drank too much water, now you're getting like a stomach cramp. So a little bit different. It's if you feel really weird, it's just that nausea feeling. If it is going down, call your doctor, schedule an appointment to see them just to make sure everything's clear. Okay. All right. Well, that was the big gist of it. You can definitely stay motivated. You can find ways to do it, get it done. Um, Again, there are plenty of ways in establishing goals. It's really important to establish those goals for yourself. And so take some time to think about what you want to accomplish, why you want to accomplish your goal. Some people's goals or motivations could be related to, your personal health. Maybe you want to be, maybe you're doing it more for your family. They're concerned about you, or you have a goal. You're trying to run Bloomsday, so you want to start exercising more, or any of those type of things. So just have a mind, a day to yourself, just kind of reflect on, why you want to get these goals done, why you want to exercise. That way, it'll help your motivation going forward. So yeah, that's all I got for you. Feel free to ask some questions, clarify on some stuff I've talked about.
I've got two questions here that I'm seeing, and if anyone else has any other questions as we're going through this, feel free to add more in the chat or in the Q&A. The first one being, Kirk, you talked a little bit about the beginning, the importance of starting slow, and there was a question about just more tips about how to really start slow and kind of what that looks like, if you have any other ideas for that.
Yeah. So the importance of starting slow is just safety. So safety and attainability. So you're starting slow to make sure you aren't have any injuries. Issues arise from exercise. Exercise is awesome and important and great, but obviously there are injuries that can happen from it. So we want to be mindful of the way we start our exercise routine. What that looks like, again, if you're not exercising, take like 10 to 15 minutes out of your week to do some of our exercise routine. You can include it into your daily routine. It doesn't have to be like exercise per se. So it could be taking the stairs instead of the elevator, seeing how you respond to that. That's very small changes. And then if you're actually getting into your routine, you're if you're going to a gym now, just start on the treadmill. Just do 10 minutes on the treadmill, see how your body feels. You're just trying to get an idea of how your body reacts to certain routines and exercises. And then you kind of just build up confidence from there. Like, okay, I can do this exercise. Let's do a little bit more, a little heavier, a little longer. It's just those small incremental changes. Hopefully that answers your question.
Next one in here is about hydration, specifically for women. Any recommendations for how much water or hydration women should get a day?
Yeah, so I believe it's 16 cups for men and 12 cups for women per day of water. That's the allotment. I don't know how many ounces that is. Do you know how many ounces that is,
I think
Erica?
we can double check that.
Yeah, we'll double check that. But yeah, there are some ways that you can do that. Some people buy like these big water jugs, and they have like motivations lines on it and little lines to tell you how much water you should be getting in per day. So you can look at those, but maintaining hydration, yeah, very important.
What about cold plunges? We've got a question in here about your thoughts on cold plunges.
There isn't so far from what I've seen, there isn't research that really goes for it. But I'm not seeing a lot of issues with it. So cold plunge is pretty hard on the body. If you do have pre-existing health conditions, you're pretty much shocking your body. So if you are um, contemplating and thinking about doing that, something like that, definitely want to chat with your healthcare team, see if it's even viable for you. If you have any heart history or are worried about some sort of heart event, then yeah, I'd probably say back off against that. It's tough on the body, essentially. There are some benefits, perhaps, but you've chatting with your doctor about that. Yeah.
The last question that I'm seeing in here, and I'm hoping I'm not missing any. How about your thoughts on hydration powders and adding them to your daily water?
Mhm. Um, no, I don't see. No, I daily. I don't see that how that would be good. If so long as you stick to your daily allotment of hydration, you shouldn't need additional hydrating products. So yeah, that's not necessary. If you're like dehydrated and you know you're dehydrated and you want to get hydrated quickly, that's where those hydration products work, like liquid IV. Those kind of products help hydrate quickly, kind of offset that dehydration. So that's where they're good for. You shouldn't have too much of a problem getting in those cups of water per day. You shouldn't need those products.
Oh, so we got one more question right as I say that. Someone else is asking, kind of going off of this water conversation that we're talking about. Besides water, do you have any other thoughts or recommendations on other things that you can use to hydrate yourself?
Hmm. Um, no. Besides, water. There's foods and like fruits that can hydrate per se, but if you're talking about like electrolyte drinks, energy drinks, um, I leave that to you to do what you want to do with it. You can talk to your healthcare team if you are taking medications that may contradict the energy drinks that you want to start drinking. And I'm talking about like Gatorade, not like Red Bull or Rockstar or something like that. So these are just electrolyte drinks. So you could, if you're taking electrolyte drinks, it's usually because you're doing more intense workout or a routine. You shouldn't really need that with if you're doing kind of moderate intensity workouts. Water does just fine, and so long as you're getting your daily nutrition in.
She put in a clarifying question in here. Yeah, specifically food. We kind of mentioned fruits a little bit. Are there any foods that you would recommend?
For hydration?
Hmm.
Um, no, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure about what foods could promote hydration, the hydration factor in your body. Not too sure about that one. I don't know. If you have any thoughts, Paige or Erica.
Okay, well, I think that is the last question that I'm seeing. So I think we'll do some follow-up and we always send out an email when we're done here anyway. So we'll send out an email that has a recording for you to watch this back and maybe do that last question in a little bit more detail in our email as well. I think will be good. But otherwise, thank you all so much for spending your afternoon with us. The next one next month is about the Mediterranean diet, which I'm really excited that we're doing. So please join us next month. It's on the 20th, I believe, of May. So hopefully we'll see you next month for that. Otherwise, thank you so much and have a good rest of your day. Happy Earth Day.
Yes. Thank you.